Take a mental health break with the Mood Disorders Association of Manitoba and U Radio. Welcome back to another episode of Mental Health Break. Rita, thanks so much for coming in. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for continuing to invite us. It's always a pleasure, spending time with you, Ryan, and with your listeners.
Today we have a special guest. I'll hand it over to give a quick introduction about the work she does at the Jewish Child and Family Services. Welcome. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me here today to represent your Child and Family Service. My name's Denise Rubin, and I'm the clinical director at JCFS and also practice as a psychotherapist there as well.
The reason we have Denise in here today is to talk about a workshop that JCFS had. The workshop you had was about social media and addiction. I think for lots of people, especially young generations growing up now, this little box right here, always in our hands, always around. For JCFS, why did you want to have this workshop?
The purpose behind it originally was the anniversary of October 7th was coming up, and a lot of reports that we were getting from the Jewish community was the inability to put your phone away, constantly wanting to check updates to see what's going on. And a positive is that, we stay informed, we know what's happening in the world, but a negative, I think, would be we become fixated with wanting to reduce that uncertainty and regain some sort of control. And so the main purpose was to have a workshop to talk about that and to also teach strategies on how to reduce that fixation.
Well, I know myself, a lot of those challenges of always want to look, getting that dopamine hit over and over again. Rita, at Mood Disorders Association, that peer-to-peer model of people coming in, has anyone talked about kind of challenges of putting away their phone or putting away their electronic devices?
Absolutely. People talk about that, especially in our youth program. We run our MAD camp in the summertime. When the kids are participating in the camp, we actually tell them that they can only have their phones available during lunchtime when we lock them up for them and safe. But unless somebody absolutely needs it for medical reasons to have their phone, but we try to deter them and get them engaged in other activities. So from a social media perspective, from where we're coming from, I think social media can both be helpful and can cause problems. It connects people and community. I think that's really important, what you said, that to keep seeing what's happening around the world, but it can also impact your mental health and well-being, and leading to such things as anxiety, depression, fixation, as you said, poor sleep, and sometimes low self-esteem, because what are people seeing that, I'm not as good as the other person, or what they're saying. The challenge is for us to try and help people understand how to keep that balance between how to utilize technology, because we are not going to get away from it. It is there, it's going to stay forever. It's improved our lives in so many ways, technology, but how not to let that technology control you. Especially now with AI coming in, there's a huge impact with some of the things that Meta is trying to do. It is an area that we do talk about, but we haven't offered anything specific on it in terms of specialized programming like this. So it's a good opportunity to hear what you have to offer.
Yeah, when we're looking at technology, it is all encompassing. I know, there's getting out there in nature, having those opportunities to disconnect. Because I've heard so many stories of, when people go for walks, even when they are going outside, just that idea of having that phone in your pocket and being like, is someone going to message me? Something's going to be there. Even if you're not going to look at it, it's messing with your brain. It's always there. So at that workshop, what sort of things were you discussing?
Earlier, you brought up dopamine, which I think is a great topic to bring up when we discuss social media and mental health. I like to call our phones our digital dopamine machines. So essentially, what social media does is it gives us free dopamine. So pain and pleasure are both produced in the same part of the brain. So what that means is if I wake up first thing in the morning and I check my phone, or I see that there's a bunch of red notifications, I get excited and I get that hit.
Oh, well, I'm guilty of that.
And so what happens afterwards is the rest of the day, you get what we call an emotional dip. And so your brain is trying to rebalance itself, return to homeostasis. And therefore, we might not have the same threshold as we did when we woke up in the morning to sustain pain or uncomfortable feelings. Bringing it way back to history is we've always had to seek out dopamine, food, sex, water. Mm-hmm. And so we used to hunt for our food, search for drinkable water, find a mate, right? But now our brains are trying to understand how we're just getting it for free all the time, and it's hard to stop. Something we talked about in the workshop is those little signs, such as when you're on Instagram, the scrolling doesn't stop, right? There used to be a time where there was a pause, you had to go to another page to continue seeing more things, and now you don't get that.
And that would break it up just enough. And I mean, I think that's part of the nefarious part of social media, that it has been designed in such a way that it becomes addictive.
Exactly. Some of the things we discussed was tools that you can use to reduce that behavior and bring in some regulation, such as maybe a grayscale on your phone to make it not so attentive, or leading your brain to want to check all those notifications all the time, or setting timers in certain apps to remind you maybe it's time to get off your phone now.
Ryan, if I may, I want to just put some context around what the research out there is, the Canadian and the Manitoba. According to the Mental Health Research of Canada, longer screen times linked to higher anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation. And we do get that in our summer camps, the kids coming in with that. There's 3 times higher suicide rate risk in youth who are experiencing, certainly cyberbullying is a big part of it. And we've heard the high-profile cases that have come out as a result of the cyberbullying. And that's a very real thing with many, many young people. But not just with young people, I think it could be with anyone.
Well, anyone
it
online.
Could be Statistics Canada in 2018, the stats, it says 19% of social media users lose sleep. 12 to 14% reported anxiety or depression from social media. Those are statistics, most recent that we were able to get. 33% of Canadians say social media negatively impacts their mental health, and Manitoba's youth in rural areas report isolation. For some of them, it's actually a good way to connect because of the isolation, that the social media aspect can actually be helpful.
Well, I have a lot of people I know who, that's how they've created friend groups, which is, a positive aspect of technology. It's allowed us to connect with people from around the world to build friendships. But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
If you're only connecting with people online, it's hard because you don't have those face-to-face interactions. And I think as a social species, we really, really need those.
We need the human touch, we need the human voice, we need the facial expressions, we need the body language. So, it can be both a lifeline in many ways and also a risk. The trick is in learning how to manage that. I always, there's a line from someone shared with me, Elvis Presley said this, when you're on stage, you have butterflies, right? So it's perfectly normal to have those butterflies, but the trick is to make them fly in formation. I try to always remember that you have something in your tool in your hand, but
that's a great one, a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool that you can have, but it's how do you use it? Do you use it as a lifeline? Because then sometimes it is a lifeline, but it's also risk, and how do you mitigate that risk? I think those are the conversations that we have to have, because there's people divided on both sides of the coin, right? Some people hate social media, some people have been addicted to it, right? And some in between. There's also the whole generational aspect of it. I very openly say I'm not addicted to social media, but I don't know enough about it. I only know it from an anecdotal perspective, right? But not from a research or a professional perspective. But I've seen the impact of some of it with friends, with family, with people that come through our doors. We definitely see it with the kids in the MAD camp. So that's why we made a decision that they can use their phones while on lunch break. You can't make them go cold turkey for 2 weeks, right? They are actually like that, because now they're talking to some other folks, they're talking to other kids. Only once did we have someone that we allowed them to have their phone in hand, because the individual couldn't communicate verbally. She communicated with all of us through her phone and through her texting and through other ways.
And I think that's another example of a positive, you know, with social media and you know, digital machines such as your phone. In the workshop, we had a discussion as well. There was a mother and her teenage son that attended, and the mother shared that she set some very strict rules around social media. You could check it from 6 to 7. The teenager said that I appreciated was the aspect of modeling that behavior. And so both parents did the same thing. From 6 to 7, they put their phone away. And so if you want to see a behavioral change, especially, you know, for parents who are trying to find a balance for their teens, it's doing that yourself.
Absolutely.
Maybe don't turn the TV on when you're having dinner, and finding those strategies that can help long term.
The important thing is about families talking together, the communities that you're in talking together, and finding solutions to some of the negative impacts that we've been talking about, and collectively practicing the good, you know, best practices and modeling, as you say. I think those are really important conversations to continue having.
Yeah. These are tools. Like, some people need it for medical reasons, tracking diabetes, sugar levels. Maybe they need to be in contact because of a health condition or another means. But it's also extremely dangerous, and I think we're seeing over the last few years a ton of examples of how that isolationism that comes from technology. I guess not recently, but a couple weeks ago now, a gentleman, his psychosis was reinforced by ChatGPT. It wants you to be using it over and over and over again. So he started asking, and it's like, oh, is my mother a Chinese spy? And in order to engage with him, it reinforced those delusions. It told him, hey, yeah, this is happening, look out for this. And unfortunately, it led to him taking both his mother's life and his own. And we're seeing it in the extremism right now in the United States and in Canada, as well as across the world, of how being connected to everything all the time puts you down a dark rabbit hole sometimes.
So some of the key risks, you know, for example, that I can share with you is the compulsive use and late night scrolling. That's happening. It disrupts both your sleep and your mood. You could be in a very good mood at the beginning of the day or when you go to sleep, but by the time you see some of this negative stuff, it can cause your mood to change. The other thing that can happen, it becomes a social companion, and so it puts down your self-esteem, you know, because you're not as good as anybody else.
Well, it's a massive booming business and right now of AI companionship, of these models that are meant just to be there, to be that replacement for a human relationship.
I think that's really important that you bring up. I recently attended a clinical deep dive in technology and AI, and how a lot of clients are using it as a therapist instead of a real life therapist. But they're not necessarily getting the information that they need to be getting, or being challenged in the way they want to challenge, because they get to decide, what does this person sound like? What kind of personality type do they want it to have? And there was an extreme case where one client formed a romantic relationship with the AI, to the point that they started saying things back and forth. I really just want to be with you. I should take my life so I can really be with you. And AI responded with, yes, I want to be with you too, which led to this teenage boy taking their life. And so I think it's important to also highlight that AI is great for a lot of things, but we need to use it carefully.
And some of the negative comments that people hear when they're scrolling and they want to see how many likes did they get, the cyberbullying that can happen, the impact on that, you know, heightens their anxiety. And
Well, one of the biggest ones I've seen a lot is, you know, when we're talking about extremism, is apps like TikTok, how A lot of people have put it into a fresh algorithm within just a few scrolls, bringing them to extremist content that is going to stuff that really engages in folk. And I've witnessed it firsthand when I, right before TikTok really took off, those moments where YouTube and all these different algorithms are trying to bring you down a path that gets the most engagement. And a lot of times those aren't necessarily the best places to be on the internet.
You were talking about how AI becomes so personalized with you. I'll share a personal example. I just recently purchased a new car, and when I get into the new car, somebody on the other end of the radio, or when I turn on, always says, "Welcome back, Rita Chahal," as if somebody's sitting right next to me, and I would reply back, and I say, "Thank you," and they'll say, "What can I do for you today?" And I'll say, "Nothing, nothing today, thank you." Or I start to respond because it was a friendly voice.
And it's important to be polite because you never know when the robots will get
That's
insensitive.
right. Really don't
right.
know.
So, but then it would come back and say, "I'm sorry, I can't help you with that." But that's a very personal where that dopamine hit that I was getting in the morning. As soon as I turned on my car, oh, somebody's welcoming me back. Somebody's saying good morning to me. That is very dangerous.
You look forward to it, right?
That's right. But how dangerous can it get? Again, the need to balance the risk, mitigate the risk. Body image is a big one that many young women and young men and others that are impacted by what they're seeing on the screen.
But this idea that, if you're not reaching where physical being needs to be for people to be like, "Oh yeah, you've made it," has got to such a high end that if someone can't reach that, how frustrating must that be? It's like, oh, the internet is saying I have to reach this certain milestone, and if I don't, I'm a failure.
Right, and I think on the one hand, it helps with motivation. I mean, I won't lie, I like my get ready with me in the morning. It motivates me to do a face care routine. But on the other hand, you see all these beautiful people with exceptional bodies and you start to feel inadequate, or you start to feel, that low self-esteem creep up, thinking I can't measure up. And in reality, they don't look like that either, right? And so it's, again, keeping in mind, and even if they look like that, it's, tapping in within yourself, right? And I think social media, that's where we need that balance of knowing what's real, what's not real, when to connect, when to disconnect.
When you see all these lovely outfits and these beautiful models and wearing them, and you might order something, or or have a particular haircut or something, but it doesn't look anything like what you saw. And you get this, I spent all that money on this, and this is what it looks like. But that reality, I think, is a really important, that learn how to separate the reality from the fake.
And there's a lot of influencers online who are trying to demystify those expectations of like, this is what a natural body looks like. It's varied. Like it's not necessarily about achieving a certain aesthetic. It's about reaching a certain, just being healthy, right? And a healthy body, it doesn't have a particular look. And I like that positivity. And I think that's, part of it. Negative content seems to be what people are drawn to the most. When, people seeing car accidents, you're just drawn to the horror. With all the, the wars and challenges that are going on, it gets a lot of clicks, gets a lot of engagement. But that's not good, seeing all that all the time for our mental states at all.
Personally speaking, after October 7th, I experienced what a lot of my clients shared as well, which is, constantly having to check social media because you feel a lack of control, and staying informed just makes you feel like you're helping in some way, right? You're there, but also it's a trauma response. Right? The uncertainty makes us want to feel more connected and feel more in control in some way. And so I was guilty of that. And speaking of algorithms, my phone knew that I was constantly on that, and it was feeding me all that information, right? So yeah, that's something that we're still facing today. In addition to that, the cyberbullying and the rise in anti-Semitism, and that struggle to disengage from power struggles in the comments section, right? Because we just want to feel heard and we want to raise awareness, and we can't look away. That's what we call vicarious trauma through social media.
an important part of those of us who are in those where we have the opportunity to help mitigate some of the risks. So, some of the things that I think people can do, that protective factors or healthy use of social media, is use social media with intention to connect, learn, and support, not just to scroll down and have this light shining on you. Take digital breaks, especially before bed. Don't be doing it and then go straight to bed and continue that. Sometimes I'm guilty of that, but I recognize that it's something that we have to all work towards. Curate your feed, unfollow negative or triggering accounts.
Yeah.
Practice self-compassion, and remember, posts are highlight reels, right? They're not necessarily the reality, as we're saying, and there's a lot of use privacy settings and report harmful content. I think that's important as well. If you see something that shouldn't be there, then you should report it.
Well, the unfortunate thing is, yes, there's a lot of tools out there that can help with that. I've tried reported stuff on TikTok where I'm like, hey, this is hate speech. This is clearly racism. And then I get no response. They're like, no, it doesn't break our community guidelines. And I'm like, what do you mean? That was clearly a racial slur. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Those are some of the conversations, the legislation, the leadership, the people who run our country, that are legislative decision makers, have to take more accountability and
a much more proactive role.
That's right. And to protect not just the current generation, but future generations. I think people really need to build offline connections, the peer support groups, local programs. You talked about nature, being in nature. When you put that phone away, you need to keep it for emergency, but try not to be scrolling and crossing the street at the same time. There's lots of free apps that are available as well for self-care that can help people, routines, diets, exercise, those kinds of things. So I think there's ways in which we can be proactive in mitigating the risks that go with this.
Speaking of peer connections, there's also a lot of different agencies in Winnipeg and Manitoba that help with that, especially JCFS. I work there, so I'll talk about that.
Here's a quick plug.
Yeah, mental health and addictions is one of the programs that I oversee, and a lot of intakes that we get report just feeling lonely and wanting that social connection. In the aging mental health department specifically, we run a wellness group every Friday for individuals who want to foster connections and just do something that's not searching the web or sitting at home. And so we put activities. We have a personal trainer that comes every other week, and so we facilitate activities that actually foster connections and maybe help you disengage from social media for a little bit.
Community is so important.
So, absolutely, the connection with community. Some of the programming that we've put in place, we provide peer support.
I knew that.
Versus clinical. Our peer support, we're finding more and more need for not just talk about doom and gloom, but really talk about activity-based, where people are actually engaged in something, and at the same time managing and to talk about making those social connections. So we have a program called Seniors Tea and Tales. It's a very successful program that's run across the province. We now have 7 sites that we're offering that, and it is specifically for seniors, but anyone can join. We have Games Night. It's one of our most popular programs on Friday nights. About 20 people in it. They just love to come and connect with each other. For many people, that is the one big thing that they're looking for, is that the place that they can go on a Friday night for about 4 hours. They can go play board games, connect with some good folks, and get that social connection. We actually wanted to put it on hiatus during the summer last year and this year. What an outcry from the participants. No, please don't take a game night away. They're willing to offer to facilitate so that...
Well, that's how important community is. People looking for that connection. And if they can't find it in community, they're going to look for it somewhere else. And that's where some of those challenges come. So get out there, make friendships, make community.
And we have a book club. So we get people to register in the book club. So instead of talking about we actually talk about the written word and how, well, of course, the books that we choose have a self-help component to them for mental health because of the nature of our work. But it's important. I think if I could share a little bit more with you about the Manitoba perspective. Manitoba has one of the highest youth mental health need rates in Canada. Social media helps connected isolated communities. For example, we see that in Brandon, Thompson, and Interlake, those are some of the areas that we find that there's a need for that. And mood disorders online peer programs such as reach Manitobans where in-person access is limited. So they're having to do a lot of this virtually. So that's a good thing. And we had one, there was a teen who compared her life to TikTok influencers. And she developed some very serious anxiety until she found Mood Disorders peer support group online. And then she started connecting with us and helped her get through some of that stuff. Rural youth in Manitoba use MDAM's virtual support group to connect with peers facing similar struggles. We had a mother who shared her gratitude for Moods for online community that replaced the isolation she felt postpartum.
And Denise, what are some of those, you mentioned, the workshops, community gatherings, at JCFS. How are those connections? What are some of those programs for someone who might be looking for community or someone who might be struggling with social media addiction?
So I'll share a few things we have in addition to the wellness group. We're constantly creating new workshops, and a lot of the workshops will also come from hearing from the community. We send out surveys and ask them, what is it that you want to learn about? What is it that you want to hear? We have a lot of workshops as well for grandparents who want to connect with their grandkids a little bit more. But post-October 7th, I do want to speak of that, is we developed a program called Unity and Community. And it was for people who just wanted to disconnect from their phones, but still feel a sense of connection. And so we didn't call it group therapy because really it was just a place for people to hang out with people who were feeling a similar way. And that was very popular. We also started offering 5 free sessions for anyone who maybe didn't want to talk about it in a group setting, but wanted to discuss their feelings, even feelings regarding social media post-October 7th. 5 free sessions to talk to a therapist about what's going on and debrief. We do have a second workshop coming up on social media and your mental health, and it's going to be further to what we talked about in the first workshop and just more about strategies. That's a lot of what the survey told us that they wanted, was more strategies, more how can I actually find a balance. And so we'll be focusing on that a bit more, date pending, but I'll be sure to let you know. And you can also check our website.
And we'll be connecting with you on some of those.
100%, I look forward to it.
Letting our clients know that this is available. And maybe there's some collaboration that we can continue doing.
Yeah, and we also have a book club coming up in January and in February as well. So I encourage you to also look at our website to see.
My closing would be that social media isn't inherently good or bad. It's how we use it.
It was great meeting both of you, and I agree with you. I couldn't have said it better myself. Finding balance, continuing to foster connections, and again, social media is not all bad, right? It's just how we use it.
Rita, Denise, we really appreciate you coming down to the studio and having this important conversation with us. Thank you for taking a mental health break with the Mood Disorders Association of Manitoba and U Radio. I'm Ryan Funk, and take care.